You're probably sitting there thinking, yo, Julian, you're not wearing a shirt again. Does this mean we're making healthy food again? Hell yeah, we are! Last weekend I participated in my first ever powerlifting competition. It went really well, I had so much fun with it. With that in mind, I wanted to share some healthy food that you could either have as a plated fancy dish, or you could easily transform into meal prep to have throughout the week. Something that's just, a step up from the normal chicken, rice, and broccoli. So, with all that in mind, let's get cooking. Alright, first things first, let's get going on our Romesco sauce. We're gonna cut up an onion, take off the skin, and hunk it up. We're not gonna worry too much about being precise because it's going in the blender later. We're also gonna grab a couple cloves of garlic, then take a couple bell peppers, and we're gonna lightly spray it with just a touch of cooking spray. While the container says that there are no calories on this, we all know that that's a lie because they round down. However, the touch of cooking spray is going to really help promote even cooking when we roast this in the broiler. And we're going to take the skin off, so we're actually going to physically remove it anyway. Now take all of your veggies and throw them on a roasting rack lined baking tray and throw them in an oven on the top shelf under a 500-degree broiler. Alternatively, you could roast the peppers directly on a gas range if you have one. Unfortunately, I still have electric. Or you can use a butane torch to char the living daylights out of them, just like I did to jalapenos in a previous video. Let those rip in the oven, but the onions and garlic are going to finish well before the pepper does. So after about 10 minutes when you go in to rotate the pepper, pull out the onion and garlic if they are done, otherwise let them go for another couple minutes. Let the peppers roast until they are really black and charred and absolutely look burnt. Don't worry about it, we're going to pull off the skin later and then we're just going to have roasted pepper with no burnt bits. While those peppers and onions are roasting away in the oven, we're going to finish off the rest of our prep and we're going to start off by cooking up some quinoa. I'm going to do this in a small pot, but if you have an instant pot and know a method to cook it there, awesome, do that. So I'm going to combine 1 cup of mixed quinoa with 1 3/4 cups of water, put that into a pot, bring it up to a boil, then drop that down to a simmer, throw a lid on it, and let it cook for about 20 minutes over low heat until it is fully cooked and nice and fluffy. You know the quinoa is done when most of the liquid is cooked away and it seems like a bunch of the quinoa kernels have almost split open, revealing an inner part of it and just looks a lot bigger than it used to. When that's all done, chill it down completely and move into an appropriate sized container. While your quinoa is cooking and your peppers are roasting away in the oven, let's just keep multitasking like a boss by cutting off the ends of some asparagus, putting those into a container. While yes, this is a really small and easy step, by doing all this kind of small petty work ahead of time, it'll make firing the dish way easier. Next up, we're gonna thinly slice a whole bunch of scallions and again put those into a container. Take your time with this step as to make sure you don't get long shreddy bits and you're actually cutting all the way through. Then when your bell peppers are done, we're going to take them out, put them into a bowl, cover them with plastic wrap, and allow them to steam under their own heat as to help separate the skin from the flesh of the pepper. Once those have cooled down, we're going to take our time and remove all the burnt skin as to not have any of that charredness in there. Then we're going to cut open the pepper and remove all of the seeds as best as possible. If there's a couple that remain, it's really not the end of the world because it's going to go into a blender and we're not even going to notice it. Throw your roast peppers, onions, garlic all into the blender, a good tablespoon of sherry vinegar, and now we're going to throw in a whole bunch of toasted almonds. Now I have some that are already toasted, but if you don't have any that are already toasted, just take some, throw them in a 350-degree oven for about 10 minutes until they're slightly browned and smell awesome. Now, if you are working to lose weight, I would advise not putting the almonds in there. Nuts are a super delicious source of healthy fats. However, they are incredibly calorically dense and it's going to really up the calories on this, which isn't the end of the world, but if you are trying to lose weight, this is an area where you could save a few. Let your blender rip and you should have a nice tasty sauce. Now, don't be like me and remember to season it with salt, pepper, and chili flake. My sauce ended up being a really great consistency, but if yours is just a little bit too thin, the traditional way to thicken it is by adding in chunks of bread. Move it into an appropriate sized container and put it in your fridge and let it chill down. Just like that, all of our prep steps are finished, so now you can walk away and you can finish this dish whenever you want. Now, if you're ready to eat, let's go ahead and move right into the fire steps. Take our asparagus, hit it with just a little bit of cooking spray, and hit it with a little bit of salt and pepper, and throw it into a 450-degree oven while we do everything else. You'll warm up just a little bit of romesco in a small pot over low heat, stirring it occasionally occasionally as to make sure that it does not burn. While all of that is happening, we're going to warm up a pan for our fish and a second one to cook the quinoa in. Season the top and bottom of your tuna with salt and pepper and make sure that you also hit around the sides. Drop it into a screaming hot pan, always remembering to place your fish away from you as to not have anything splash up into you. Meanwhile, in another really hot pan, throw in an appropriate amount of quinoa, a couple spoonfuls. In my case, I added just a little bit too much, so remove a little bit of the excess. Let that saute and get a little bit crispy. Season it with salt, pepper, and just a teaspoon of vinegar. Give your quinoa a good toss as to distribute the seasoning. Then let it settle in the pan. Once your tuna has a nice, beautiful, golden brown crust, flip it to the other side and allow a crust to develop on that side. But remember, we're only trying to sear the outside and not cook it through. We want this to be rare. Once the quinoa is nice and hot, toss it with just a little bit of your chopped scallion and set it aside. It is good to go. Once your tuna is all seared on the second side, and so now you have two sides with that beautiful crust, we are ready to plate. Take a knife and make angled cuts through the tuna, making sure that you have nice big slices, but that also really exposes that beautiful cook. To plate this and make it look super nice, we're gonna take a big spoonful of our romesco, put that down on one side of the plate, then use the edge of a spoon to push it across. Take your quinoa and slowly dump it out into the gap in the middle of your romesco. Now you can also use a spoon to put it in there, but I find it's almost easier to slide it out of the saute pan. Take our asparagus and we're gonna lay it on at a slight angle. We're gonna make sure that all the heads are pointing the same way. Put that tuna right on top of the asparagus, really making sure we show off the prize part of this dish, which is the beautiful cook on that. I'm gonna make sure that we have that edge piece turned around so then that way it's all pink facing out. Finally, we're gonna garnish with just a little bit of fancy finishing salt. I have black lava salt and just a little bit of scallion over the top, and voila, we are done. As you can see, we have a restaurant quality dish that is really good for you, which is sky high in protein, has plenty of healthy fats, and uses vegetables in a very interesting and flavorful way. Thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, please give the video a like because it really helps me out. Please share this with anybody you think might find this helpful. If you aren't already, don't forget to subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss out on any future videos. I have a whole bunch already up on my channel. I've even divided them into different playlists, so then that way you can easily find things that meet your interests, such as Kiss, Keep It Simple Stupid, focusing on simple, easy to follow recipes, and healthy food that doesn't suck. Within the next week, I'm gonna be posting a link for a future live stream, which will have a list of ingredients that you can get, so then that way we can cook together and have a live cooking class where we make something really interesting and I answer your questions as we cook it together. If there's any kinds of foods you want to see in the future, or if you have any questions about this at all, please ask me down below. I really do my best as to answer every single question completely in full.